giggity, the bump stickity. Niggas wanna know, but check the flow, my little chickadee. I'm coming with the books, and kid, it looks like it's a winner. You better get your plate because I'm serving raps for dinner.
Old souls, young souls, and all my damn souls in between. Welcome back to another week of Old Soul in the Young World with your host, Jesse Ellie. Hey! It did not explode on the table this week. It happened the last 2 weeks. You know, a little bit on my hand, but we Gucci. I'm about to fill my guest cup real quick. We got a very special guest in the studio, Mr. Dev Alexander, CEO, co-founder of Rolling Releaf. What's good? Hey, we're excited. We are very excited on Old Soul Young World. I have been pestering Dev to come on for a couple months now, ever since Boston Cannabis Week. Shout out Lisa Finelli and everyone involved in Boston Cannabis Week. But that's kind of where we came across each other at a dope social media event that Lisa held at, I forget what it was called.
The Smoke Shop in Assembly Row.
Smoke Shop.
Yeah.
Their food was good.
Yeah, no.
You had some?
Oh my God, yeah, no, I'm
So
a big
much.
barbecue fan.
Hey.
And it was dope. Just to be able to meet everybody. That was like my first in-person event, this year. And we were one of the scholarship recipients of Boston Cannabis Week, so that's what we were there for.
I wanted to ask you about that as well, but it's such a come up, such a huge thing that you're doing in the Boston community, in the local community in general, because as you know, if you've listened into my show, we've talked about cannabis multiple times. I've had multiple advocates on the show who are involved in the cannabis community, and we're really just trying to get different people on different perspectives to break down for you guys to let you understand how much it's evolved. You know what I'm saying? Because it's a huge organization. It's
come a long way.
Crazy.
It's so wild to think about everything's happened in the past 5 years and what can happen in the next 5 years.
Right. Like if you look back, it's like, and we talked about that, me and Lisa actually, like we grew up remembering, it was such a crime to have like a dime bag on you and like be rolling a blunt on like a Thursday afternoon. Do you know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Like
you're villainized for it.
Yes.
And now you start to see billboards when you're down the highway and it started to be very destigmatized, which is good.
Yeah, 100%. And I kind of just threw you out there, like co-founder, CEO of Rolling Relief. But what exactly is Rolling Relief for the people who need to get educated?
Rolling Relief is a Black-owned, social equity certified marijuana delivery operator that is going to be wholesaling from the finest cultivators and product manufacturers, putting the weed on wheels and bringing it right to the consumer's door.
Yo, did you have that written for today? That's a great pitch, though.
Yeah. No, I'm really excited about it. We're still going through the licensing process. It's a marathon, as those who have been through it know. But we're just about halfway there, and we just got to keep on pushing.
So this is a cannabis delivery service in the just Boston area is your goal, or?
Yeah, no, the greater Boston area.
Okay.
The South Shore region, but mostly we want to place a heavy emphasis on Boston. The name of the game with delivery is population density. So we want to be serving those more populated areas for sure.
Exactly, yeah. And then you have most of your business like NOS main drivers. You don't have to be spread out as much, so you can,
That's
capitalize on the money. And
route optimization is very big, which is why we're going to be using the service On Fleet to help us with that as well. There's a lot of moving pieces. Well, On Fleet, they've been doing delivery before. Obviously, cannabis was legalized, and it really just helps optimize our routes so we're not pinballing ourselves across the state. You want to do like one clean, efficient circle. It all has to make sense.
So they kind of plan routes for you?
Exactly. And they text the consumer when we're like 10, 15 minutes away.
Wow.
And it's really user-friendly, yeah. It's been a great
amazing.
tool. And they give discounts to equity applicants. So the people from On Fleet are really dope. Shout out to them.
Hey. And this is, like you said, it's multiple pieces, blocks that build this puzzle and that, build this empire, because it doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't happen in a day. Like you said, things change in 5 years. I'm sure 5 years ago, I don't know, actually, 5 years ago, was Rolling Relief in your mind? Was that a thing? When was Rolling Relief a baby thought in your mind?
Well, just to ask you your first question, 5 years ago, I was working at CVS in the pharmacy as a pharmacy technician, making $11 an hour in my local community in the South Shore down in Braintree. I was getting yelled at every day, for stuff that wasn't my fault.
Fuck that.
I was on my feet all day. it was just really nasty because you just get a firsthand look on how the American healthcare system can really be. You're dealing with people's money and their health. But, working there as a pharmacy technician helped me transition really well to my next job, which was a bud tender. So once I left CVS,
that's a very smooth transition right there.
Oh my God, it was
very
crazy.
Similar.
But I knew I wanted to work with weed once, medical came about. I just wasn't passionate about working in a pharmacy and dealing with those products and those customer base. So I remember I had to take a test to get nationally certified as a pharmacy tech, and I studied and everything. I went to go take it, and CVS is a retail pharmacy. Everything that was on the test had stuff to do with like a hospital pharmacy. So I was so I failed that, and that's literally right. I
feel like that's a trick in the system. Like they don't want you to win.
They didn't. It's crazy. And I decided right then there, I'm going to break into cannabis. I started taking online classes to make my resume more attractive. And I started going around to conventions across New England, down in Providence, up in Portland, Maine. And right here in Boston, I would just myself walk around with my resume, just trying to meet people, just trying to make my face known, trying to say, hey, I have very relatable skill sets that can transition very well to cannabis.
Right.
And, one day I was at CVS counting up some pills, and they messaged me. They're like, hey, we're hiring. And it was the one, I'm from Quincy, and it was a dispensary right in Quincy, too. So it was dope.
Wow.
So they're like, hey, we're hiring.
Yeah,
Send us your
sometimes
resume.
when you hold on long enough, it's like meant to be.
Exactly. Because there
Yeah.
were some places I applied to that were like way farther away, but I just was willing to do whatever it took just to get my foot in the door.
Yeah.
And so thankfully I ended up in my hometown, which is a 10-minute drive from my house. And so I started off as a bud tender there, worked my way up to director of community outreach. Once I gained that position, I was doing community cleanups around Quincy, doing fundraisers for the homeless shelter, for the animal shelter, food drives. And back in September of 2019, I hosted the city of Quincy's first expungement clinic, where I gave individuals the tools and the resources to remove nonviolent cannabis crimes from their criminal record.
Oh my gosh! Yo, we got a living legend on the show tonight. Yo, that is so dope though, because I think that's the thing that people twist about cannabis and in the industry. You can use it as much to give back as you can for medical use, as you can for personal use. Like you can circle that right back, filter right back into your community. And you can do it in different ways. Like that's mad creative.
Oh, yeah.
Park cleanups, like getting people involved, showing them that it's not a criminal act anymore. Like
it was really dope, giving back to my home city while getting paid by a cannabis company. It was just like,
gosh, what a
dream.
win.
It's a dream come true, And then, things started getting crazy. So that was back in September 2019. And, and then the vape ban happened. If you guys remember that,
yes,
people were smoking those vitamin T acetate bans.
Yeah.
And so most of our inventory was vapes. And so because we couldn't sell them, sales declined, and we had to lay some people off. People got their schedules reduced. Mm-hmm. But it was kind of like...
Were you into the vaping? The vape,
not personally,
scene?
Not really.
Me neither.
No,
yeah.
I like to dab mostly. I like to do like the Puffco Peak or good old flower. But, it was a blessing in disguise because at the same time the vape ban happened, the social equity program was just beginning. So I had time to go to work and go take classes because they would be at night.
Okay. And, I'm a little bit up on the cannabis terms and all that, but, I'm still working my way, and I'm sure people listening in are trying to figure out their way and educate themselves. What was that, a social equity class?
Social equity program. So Massachusetts is the first state to implement a statewide equity program. So in California, they do it city by city. So Los Angeles' equity program is different from Sacramento's program, and that's different from Oakland's program.
Based on like laws and regulations?
Based on demographics and everything else. And it's really equity programs across the country, their whole purpose is to help create an equal level playing field because when it comes to the war on drugs, African Americans were more marginalized than their Caucasian counterparts.
Right.
So they really want to put an emphasis on giving back to those disproportionately impacted areas. So Massachusetts started the initial first cohort back in October 2019. The vape ban happened September 2019. Mm-hmm. So it was dope. I literally just did the expungement clinic, and that was my claim to fame at that point in time. Like, I'm an expungement guy. That's what I do. Yada yada yada.
I'm the expungement man.
that was my pillar in the industry. I say everybody has a specialty. There's different subgenres. Like expungement was my thing before I even took an equity class. And then it was really cool because the equity program is free. It's put on by the state. You don't pay them a cent. And we were taking classes in person. So our first class was at the State House. Our next class was at Suffolk University. The next class after that was at Bunker Hill Community College. And it was crazy because it was the first cohort still. So a lot of people that I was taking classes with were people that I would see on TV and read about in the paper. And now I'm getting to sit next to them and talk to them, become friends with them, network. And I think that was like really one of the better things of the equity program was getting that camaraderie with the fellow entrepreneurs.
Right.
But then obviously COVID happened and then everything had to go to virtually.
Right. Yeah. And then we're just coming back from that in a way. You know what I mean? Because COVID is still kind of there, but it's like the cannabis business now, like you said, you went to your first in-person event. We're starting to come back into the community. We can start doing events again. We can start getting things finalized, legalized, all that. But it's really amazing, like, honestly, the things that you've contributed already. And I just want to bring it back to, like, expungement. For people who don't understand how crucial it is for the fact that we have people who are still in jail today for cannabis or are still criminalized today, can't do things because of their past history record of cannabis when it's now legal. How does that make sense? Make it make sense. Somebody, you know what I'm saying? And I think that's the point that Dev is making. Like, it is huge in the community. It changed the systematic errors that we have put around cannabis. It's not a drug. It's a medicine. And I think it's just like when you build habits for so long, generationally, and in the nation and in people's mind and through, demographic, just everything. Like, when you start building those habits, it's hard to break them. So right now, what we're trying to do is backtrack and take those habits back and show people what it's really about and what it can do. And giving back to the community is a huge, huge thing. And I just want to thank you personally, myself, because you give us a good name. We don't have to be lazy stoners anymore. We're productive stoners. You feel me?
Exactly. That's really what I'm out to prove.
I just went off. But anyways, I know that you also have mentioned that Rolling Releaf is a Black-owned and started business. And, just in general, I mean, I've kind of said it on my past episodes and I can, briefly say it again. But what actually got you involved in cannabis or using cannabis? Or how do you use it to support yourself, like medically or personally or however? What's your preference, yo?
Well, it was already predetermined before I even came out the womb. I was going to be with cannabis. Both of my parents consumed cannabis, and both of my grandparents consumed cannabis as well. So it was never seen as a bad thing in my family. I knew what it was before I knew what it actually was. Just by the smell of it, I knew something was up. So I had a strong love for weed before I started calling it cannabis. Since I was like 8 and 9 years old, I just knew. I would watch How High with Method Man and Redman. I'd watch Half Baked with Dave Chappelle.
It was in the culture.
I was heavy into it. I was bumping Ludacris, Chicken and Bear. I was in like 5th grade. I grew my hair out, got cornrows just because Ludacris did it. I wanted to be like Ludacris so bad, like Blueberry Yum Yum.
Give me a picture of you with cornrows. I'll pop it right here on the YouTube video.
That's an
like,
exclusive,
boom.
yeah.
Dev Alexander, like you never seen before.
Oh my God, yeah, I'll never have long hair again. But I was really just loved weed even before a Cannabis Control Commission existed, even before a lot of things. I just had a strong love for the plant from a very young age. Never in a million years did I ever think I could make a career out of it.
Such a come up.
It's
huge.
I think it really what drives me even more because I'm actually passionate about it and I respect it and everything that it's given me a platform.
Yeah.
Like 5 years ago, nobody gave a damn what I had to say. They didn't care.
Exactly.
When I was a senior in high school, I got arrested for minor possession of cannabis, and that derailed my plans going into the Air Force. And so I really had to think on my feet. And I ended up going to Quincy College, getting an associate's degree in psychology, realized I don't want to go to school anymore. After those 2 years,
life changes. Things change.
You ask yourself your question, like, how passionate are you about psychology? Now, you do want to commit all this time and money and then spend all this extra years dealing with other people's problems, basically.
Exactly.
And then that's when I looked on snagajob.com and found the CVS job. And so that's really the timeline from going from Quincy College, Snagajob, CVS, dispensary and leaving the dispensary and starting rolling Releaf.
Facts.
Yeah. So it's crazy because I'm sorry to cut you off.
No, please.
Like when I entered the cannabis space, I had no intentions of ever being an owner whatsoever. I was very content with just being a bud tender. I thought I made it. It's like I get to come to work and sell weed every day. This is perfect. It's like what else could you want? You know. But then you start to realize the people running the show don't really know what they're doing. They're not really as passionate about you. And then you start to think to yourself, can I do this myself? And it really took the people close to me to help instill that confidence, like my mom and my close friends. They're like, Dad, you got this. You know what you're doing. You're passionate. Why don't you go after it?
Right.
Here we are.
Right. And I can tell by the way you talk that, like, getting into the cannabis industry, it's not just like, oh, I smoke, so I'm going to make a business. It's like, I can tell you're studied, you're educated, like you're well-versed. You know what you're talking about when you talk about the laws and legalization or, all that. So I think it's important for anybody who's trying to get into this industry or is interested in it, make sure you're doing your research. Make sure you're updated on what's going on in your community and what's to come because it's moving quickly. Like he said, like things are changing. You don't know what's going to happen in 2 years, 5 years. You can try to plan your whole life out. It doesn't always happen that way. That's not always how the cards fall. So I think it's super dope when you can pick the cards back up and just change the deck. You know what I'm saying? Like just change your move and make it work for you. And having that passion and building something out of what you care about is important. Like anybody listening in, you're important. If you have a dream, you can do it. Don't forget that. And we're just two examples of people who are trying to do the same thing. You know what I mean? Anyone can call you crazy. Anyone can put you down at your 9-to-5 job that you're making $11 at. But when you want to take that seed that you have planted in your mind and grow that tree and finally start, watering your ideas and caring about, what you're going to do with your life because we have one life to live. So I just think it's super dope even having you on to talk about this. I go on my little rants, so don't mind me. But you're a very inspiring and motivating person, and
thank you.
I feel like, especially for a lot of young Black men, like that's such a key factor. Seeing somebody who I don't know what you've come from. I don't know what your background is. I don't know what your history is or your traumas. But you've pushed through that to still try to create a business as a young Black man. So just much respect to you. I appreciate that. Yeah. I just had to give you that little shot real quick. But I was trying to understand, and I was asking you before the show, I'm like, okay, so it's not like a physical building right now. You're in the making of getting I don't even know what it's called.
A provisional license.
Thank you. A provisional license. So it's not a physical app that I could download on my phone yet, correct?
That's correct, yes.
Okay. Could you kind of explain to the people what process you're in right now? Like, how are you working towards building this app? Because when I first met you, I was like, oh, I can just go download it. And then I'm like, oh, shit, like, it's not that easy because it wasn't even a thing.
Yeah.
That's not even a legal thing yet.
Exactly. No, to start out, while we're still in the first couple of years of the company, we're going to be partnering with other third-party technology platforms, Weed Maps being one of them, Leafly being another, and Lantern being another one too.
I've never heard of Lantern.
Lantern's specific to Boston, and they're the sister company of the alcohol delivery app Drizzly. So Drizzly was started here in Boston by two BC kids who wanted alcohol delivered to their dorm rooms.
We know what's up over here, guys.
And so a couple of years ago, when I was doing my networking, I was out at an event to get people to come to Expungement Day, actually. Mm-hmm. And so I was out networking, and I met the co-founder of Drizzly, Justin Robinson. And Justin knew that I was in the social equity program.
Okay.
And he knew delivery set aside for equity applicants. So he would hit me up. We talked, and then he would continue to hit me up. It was like, hey, we're going to start a whole new company. We're going to do this incubator program. I think you'd be a great fit. Yada, yada, yada. And I just kept brushing him off. I didn't think anything. I didn't know what Drizzly was at that point in time. I'm like, whatever, man.
Bro,
okay. Yeah. And so he kept hitting me up, hitting up mutual friends of ours. I'd go to events and be like, Justin's been talking to me about you, man. He's trying to get in touch with you. I'm like,
I know.
And so COVID happens. Drizzly blows up 500,000%.
Holy.
They become the Amazon of alcohol e-commerce.
What?
And then that's when they create their sister company, Lantern. Lantern is the cannabis equivalent of Drizzly, on-demand cannabis delivery. but they could only partner with medical dispensaries because only they could run delivery operations. So that's why they're like, okay, they came up with an incubator program that only social equity people can apply to because only social equity people can go out for the licenses. So myself and 100 other people applied for it, and myself and 3 other people got accepted. This is June 2020.
You have to have qualifications to get accepted?
Yeah, no, they do.
That's a lot of people, and you got accepted.
Yeah, no, they've seen what I did in the community. They've seen how far I've come. They've seen I completed the social equity program. They've seen okay, this kid's a rising star. Let's get behind them, And so we did the interviews, and we got in. And I'd say the number one benefit of getting into that program was they hooked us up with an attorney pro bono.
Wow, that is no joke right there. Mm-hmm. So you got an attorney right now?
Yeah, I got Vicente Cedarberg law firm working pro bono. Thanks for answering.
He can say whatever he wants tonight. You heard?
Yeah, it's crazy. We got a whole team of lawyers, and they've just been great to work with. I don't even want to think of where I'd be in the process without them.
Yeah.
And big shout out to Lantern. They're expanding across the country. I know they're going to roll out a similar program down in New Jersey very soon.
Okay. Wow. That's amazing. And, it's just so dope to see all these things coming about, because before this Boston Cannabis Week event this year, I know things had been going on, but because of COVID and because of everyone kind of working on the DL and all that, I wasn't exposed to how much, I'm having dinner at Mary's. Come on. Did you meet dinner at Mary's?
Oh, yeah.
Infused cannabis packages.
Sam Cantor.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? There's so many amazing people who are just coming out and sponsoring these small businesses that are startups that are one day going to grow into large communities and movements, which is just super crazy to even think about.
It is.
Yeah.
And it's the beginning of a movement, and I'm just very excited to be part of it.
Right. I'm excited to be part of it. I'm excited to even have you here. Oh, shit. And so when could people possibly expect to even see an app? Is that even a thing in the making right now?
No, it won't be a legit Roll and Relief app. People will most likely download a Weed Maps app, and then they'll go and be able to search Roll and Relief through Weed Maps. Okay. Weed Maps also has their own version of a social equity program, which I also got accepted into. And so, Weed Maps is going to give us a free listing for a few years once we become operational.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So operational status is in the process.
Oh, yeah.
It's a couple of years out.
That's the $1 million question. Yeah. We're very hopeful just next year. Well, so we formed the LLC back in...
That's what we were talking about,
So we formed the LLC back in May of 2020, but the application for our license type didn't come out till May 2021.
A whole year?
We had to fight for that license to create that.
So you just have to wait on it and fight for it.
For a full year, I was a full-fledged activist.
Wow. Yeah. And how do you who are you even fighting against, though? I mean, the government? Is this
the powers that be? No, so the original the Cannabis Control Commission wanted to create a license type that had a low barrier of entry to cost. So what they came out with at the time, it was called the delivery-only license. So that license type made it so you would have to have a location, you would have to contract with an adult use dispensary, take on all their products already prepackaged, and everything they install at the end of the day, you'd have to return to that store. You're basically a glorified Uber Eats. Okay. So on top of that, you have to have 2 drivers in the vans at all times this product. You have to have 2 body cameras, 1 on each driver, 2 additional cameras, 1 on the front, 1 on the back, and then 2 additional safes, 1 for cash, 1 for product. In addition to that, all cannabis businesses, regardless of the license type, have to pay what's called a host community agreement, where they pay 3% of the annual gross sales, not net gross. Yeah.
Yo, these are all the things that you don't hear about, guys. You don't know this shit up front.
It's crazy. So there's no oversight of those agreements. So they're ripe for extortion. So what you'll see sometimes in some cities, if you want this agreement, I'm going to need so-and-so amount of cash here under this nonprofit, buy us a new fire truck, build us a new playground. Even it got crazy in Fall River. The mayor, ex-mayor Correa, he was extorting them for hundreds of thousands of dollars and 12 to 15 pounds of smokable flower. And he just
Excuse me, can you slow that down? Can you repeat that, but say it slow?
Giselle Correa, the ex-mayor of Fall River, a top 10 populated city in Massachusetts, was extorting cannabis companies that wanted to set up shop in Fall River to the tune of hundreds of thousands of dollars as well as 12 to 15 pounds of smokable cannabis flower.
Yo, mind blown.
Like Grand Theft Auto.
That's
and he
a
was,
conspiracy.
He's my age, too. Like, he was 27 years old. Like, he's a kid as the mayor of Fall River, doing all this, living the Grand Theft Auto lifestyle. The feds eventually caught wind of it. Yeah. They arrested him at the country club early one morning. And just recently, I say a month, maybe last month, he got sentenced to 6 years in federal jail.
Oh my God.
And he has to pay back those companies on top of that. So Massachusetts is crazy because they're the only state in the country that requires these companies to get these host community agreements. They give the municipality a lot of control. So you have to really go through the municipalities that you're operating in before you can get to the state level.
Right.
So you'll see other states, like Oklahoma, for example. If you have $5,000 in a heartbeat, you can get a cannabis license in Oklahoma. That's all it takes.
Just 5,000?
That's it.
You don't need licensing or classes.
That's all that. Massachusetts.
Why do you think we're so strict on that shit?
That's just how we are. We don't even have happy hour. You know, we're just very strict. Especially something.
We don't even have hookah clubs.
Exactly.
What am I saying?
No,
obviously. Imagine a cannabis cafe, in 90 years?
That's so crazy, too, because we're supposed to have those. That's the license type that doesn't get talked about too much. The regulations for that exist.
I've been wondering about that.
But a law needs to pass through the legislature first.
Okay.
And just like delivery, though, social consumption is set aside for equity applicants for the first 3 years. So only social equity applicants can open up social consumption lounges once that day comes.
Really?
There's only going to be in a few municipalities because obviously they have to test it out.
Yeah.
But if I had to put my money on where the first social consumption lounge would be in Massachusetts, I'd say Holyoke.
Really? Holyoke? I don't know why I thought Cambridge in my head. Why Holyoke?
They're really progressive. They really know,
Yo, I know nothing about Holyoke.
Me neither.
It's a hole in the wall for me.
I didn't know Holyoke before I started focusing on the cannabis industry, but Holyoke, you can go and get a host community agreement the same day.
Wow.
It's so crazy. They just, because they know other businesses really want to come set up shop, but they have old infrastructure, and I'm sure they use hydroelectricity, so their cultivators' costs are very low to be out in Holyoke.
Right.
But yeah, social consumption, it's crazy, because COVID, the 2 licenses that are set up for equity applicants got drastically affected by COVID. Delivery, COVID drew an emphasis for delivery, but it drew a decrease for social consumption. It increased one that's okay, delivery services are needed because of COVID. Social consumption is not really a big issue to us because of COVID.
I don't understand. Why would social consumption go down?
Because you're not gathering in person like that anymore.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay, I have misunderstood
people barely share joints anymore because of COVID.
Yeah. That makes complete sense.
And just the regulations they have in place for Massachusetts, it's just absurd. I don't think people are going to enjoy themselves.
Yo, it's so funny you said that because me and my best friend, shout out Ashley, we burn together all the time during COVID season, I guess you could call it. And I guess we can get into this after, but I smoke blunts, and I know it's not good for you, and I'm trying to switch off of it. But we'll burn together, and during COVID, we were just rolling our own blunts, the whole I don't know how many months that was or whatever. It's been almost whatever. Well, we started smoking again together, but So I get what you're saying. That's crazy. And that shows you guys though that there's so much behind the scenes, so many laws and things that we don't even know going on. That people like Dev Alexander, who are trying to make a great mark in the community and build an amazing, business and movement, have to literally fight blood and teeth and nails just to get licenses or whatever. When we can go, where is it? Tennessee, Nebraska? Where'd you just say? Oklahoma. They're all kind of the same, right? Them southern states, I don't know. They kind of all just mixes those squares on the map.
Exactly, the flyover states.
Right. So besides dabs, is dabs the thing for you?
It never used to always be. I was always flower number 1 until my tolerance got crazy.
Okay.
And so with dabs, less is more. It's just a little dab will do you.
Yeah.
But,
I remember my first dab. I was on the floor.
Oh my God.
I was in 7th grade.
Yeah.
I started smoking very young, but yeah.
Thank God. That's now that you have dispensaries and the proper equipment to make dabs, people were making dabs very shadily and blowing themselves up before a lot of the equipment came to fruition.
Yeah.
So now it can be produced in a regulated, tested area, thank God.
Okay.
But, I love dabs, but flower will always be number 1.
Always.
Always.
Love my life.
Exactly.
I feel that 100%. And I think that it's up to the individual. Like everyone's different. I don't know if you feel that way. Like,
oh my
I'm
God,
sure.
yeah, I was working as a bud tender. I came to realize that very quickly.
Oh, true. I forgot about the whole bud tender aspect. So you met mad individuals.
At my prime, I was seeing about 50 medical patients a day individually, and just talking them through what product can help them best with their debilitating conditions.
Can I give you my debilitating condition and you can diagnose me?
Go ahead.
Extreme back and neck pain, like could be arthritis at a young age. Crazy. Hurts all the time. If I sleep the wrong way, like I get the worst neck pain ever. That gives me migraines, and yeah. That's what I got for you.
And what's your preferred method of consumption?
Smoking.
I recommend the heavy indica flower.
Hey, now we know. You heard, if you have back problems, neck problems, heavy indica. Mm-hmm. Don't cheat yourself. Don't lie to yourself. But I just want to shout out one more time Boston Cannabis Week. I think it was a dope event. I know you were involved in it pretty heavily. Were you like an everyday type person? I went to a few.
I missed 2 days of it, but
events.
I was there for the golf tournament. I was there.
How was that?
It was a blast. I didn't even golf. I don't golf. I brought 4 people that
you don't take me as a golfer, but like maybe he does. I'm not going to judge him.
I was riding around a golf cart, smoking weed all day.
Hey, that sounds lit.
It was a dope time. Tuesday was the fashion show. Wednesday was a panel that I spoke on, entrepreneurship panel. Thursday was a mixer. I didn't go to that. Friday was the Weed Maps block party. Mm-hmm. Saturday was the Freddie Gibbs show. And then Sunday was like health and wellness and yoga.
Yeah. So you spoke on a panel for the education?
Yeah, it was called Emerging Entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
I spoke on that alongside Marquise Neal of Lifted Smoking Goods, their accessories, Vanessa Jean Baptiste of Legal Greens, the first adult use Black woman-owned cannabis dispensary in the whole East Coast, and Ulysses Youngblood of Major Bloom, who also happens to be retail, and they're also going to be the first Black-owned product manufacturer in Massachusetts.
Yo, you think they won't come to the podcast, though?
Only one way to find out. You never know until you ask.
You're funny. But that's amazing. That's a huge come up, especially for the Black community, having so many entrepreneurs like on a panel and in Boston speaking and educating people. Shout out Lisa Finelli for putting that together and highlighting these people. And you won a sponsorship, an award as well.
We won the scholarship, yeah.
Okay, the scholarship
from BCW.
All of you?
No, it was just me, Marquise, and Vanessa.
Okay.
It was just 3 of us.
And what does that entail? Where does the scholarship come from?
That's a good question.
He's like, I got surprised. I remember we talked briefly and you were like, I didn't expect it.
Yeah, no, I didn't know it existed. And then Scott and Lisa emailed me one morning and they were like, well, you get free access to every event we throw in. Table space, you want to throw up tables at the Freddie Gibbs show. You can sell your merch, hand out your stickers, speak on the panel, free entry to the golf tournament. It was I'm really grateful for it. It was really a big boost to help our marketing, It helps really get us out there. And, and that's what we're really trying to do. We're trying to push to 1,000 Instagram followers before the new year. So we're at 730 right now.
We're going to get you there, yo. And that's the thing, too, also about like the cannabis industry and building a new business. Like, it's not just, making the product. It's also being able to push the product and getting the consumers and getting people involved and understanding what you're doing. So it's huge. There's so many strides behind it. And, I think anybody starting out, like, you need to realize how many years and how many steps go into it. Like, it's not something you can rush. Like, you can't just jump in. And, I don't know if you have any advice for the people, if anyone's trying to start something or build something.
Yeah, go at your own pace. Don't focus on what other people are doing.
Don't compete with nobody.
Exactly. And the only person you should be competing with is yourself and trying to be better the next day. Also, get an attorney and don't sign anything without having your attorney look at it first. That's a big thing.
Key, you heard? And it's not easy to get those things, guys. Like, but it all takes work. It all takes time. You know, and I just compare it to like our podcast. Like we started small and we built and we grew. We're in a new studio this week. I just want to shout out real quick, a Vibe podcast. I want to shout out JQ for being here tonight. You know, Biz, Shot for Shot. Thank you for your production, editing, all that. But you know, it takes time and it takes growth to come up and build yourself. And you know, right now, like I feel like for myself, I'm at a promotional phase, like a sponsorship phase. Like I'm trying to get people invested in understanding. And I'm sure you understand that too. Like the sponsorship and all that is very important. It's very key. Like, I don't even know. I'm trying to figure it out right now. I don't even know how to figure it out.
It's tough, you know, and
it's crazy.
You got to get some mentors, people that have been there. You know, you got to have.
Wow, somebody said that to me yesterday. That's the back-to-back I've heard the word mentor now that you said that.
I have a few mentors actually, and they've been very helpful along this journey that's still only halfway there. So shout out to people who are willing to share their knowledge with you without cost, you know, because there's a lot of snakes out there that are looking to take advantage of people, just looking to learn.
100%. And, you know, that actually brings me to a great point in the night in the show. And I don't know if Dev was expecting this. He could have maybe never heard this before. I'm going to put him on the spot. Now he looks nervous. He's going to take a sip of his drink because he doesn't know what's coming. Yo, I crack myself up, I swear. So, you know, Old Soul Young World listeners, JQ's dying because are you guys laughing? Like, come on. All right. So anyways, every week we have been asking a certain question. I'm still putting together a mix of season 1. So I'm hoping that's going to drop in the next couple of weeks, but I'm going to do a little compilation of this question so you guys can really see what Old Soul Young World is about. But anyways, Dev Alexander. So just a question that I ask my guests, and if you don't want to answer it, that's cool. I tell everybody, you know, you can say, I don't give a fuck. I don't know. I'm not really sure what you're saying to me right now, Jesse. But in yourself as Dev Alexander, growing up however you grew up, whatever person you may be, because like I said, I don't know where you came from. I don't know your past. I don't know your history. I don't know how you got to this amazing point where you're at, but shout out you because clearly you're a great soul. But what do you feel like that it means, definition-wise, to be an old soul in the young world, even if you yourself don't consider you an old soul in the young world? What do you kind of think that might mean? First thing that comes to mind. Or you can say, I don't want to answer.
Just having respect for people who came before you and really paying homage to things that are vintage. You know, my musical preference is 90s hip hop, so I really listen to. So I consider myself an old soul in that aspect. I know a lot of that. You know, me and my mom are very close in age. She had me when she was 16. I was born in 93, so it was really all the music that I grew up listening to, you know. So it was really, I definitely, and even just growing up, I was always the youngest amongst my friends. Like all my friends were like 5 years older than me. So I grew up quick, and people would definitely consider me an old soul in the young world. I have to Google new slang these days. I'm not even 30 years old yet. I'm like, yo, what the fuck? That's really pissing me off. I'm like, what the fuck's no cap mean?
On some shit though. Yo, that's facts. And you know what I'm saying? Like, guys, he gets it. It's weird when you feel that way and you grow up with all those old school mentalities, those old school ways. I listen to hip hop like Lauryn Hill, Jill Scott, Erykah Badu, and my girls growing up. You know, so many different hip hop and R&B rappers that I would just vibe out with. But my friends didn't like it. They thought I was weird. And I also did spoken word poetry. I was like in the poetry club in high school. We went to MIT actually for like a competition and shit. Dope. It was really dope.
Should have been on Def Jam.
Yo, I should have. Yo, I would have killed it. Yo. Should we freestyle tonight? No, I'm sorry. I'm getting a little ahead of myself. We do some freestyling now and then. But yeah, I just love spinning. I love talking shit. And I feel like when I was younger, it was kind of misinterpreted. And when you have dreams like you, like people around you, and I don't know if you feel this way, but I've always kind of felt this way. Like people thought I was a little crazy. People thought like I don't know, like I was just a little out there. I always was like a dreamer, I guess you could say.
Yeah, the outside world, I definitely felt that way. To the people who are not close to me. My support system believed in anything I ever wanted to do, but I know there's a lot of people who said I was crazy when I told them we were going to establish this new delivery license. And they laughed at me, and they said it would never happen. And they said, just give up. It's a pipe dream, you know. And that's what really motivates me. Like, as soon as someone tells me I can't do something, that's all the fuel I need.
Yo, same. And like, just to relate to you again, it's like I'll have people question me like, oh, well, why do you do the podcast? What do you get from the podcast? What do you mean? Like, look back at all the episodes, look at the amazing people I've met, the amazing people who've come on and been able to tell their story. You know what I'm saying? Spread the word about coming from whatever they came from and starting something out of nothing. Like, I feel like that's what Rolling Relief is. Like, it sounds like to me, like you literally started out of nothing. Like a dream, a thought.
It's really just a high idea. That's what I call it.
Yo, can we call that the episode title? A high idea?
Yeah, go
I got
ahead.
a high idea today.
High idea. I really...
I think you need to LLC that.
I really put a lot of time into thinking about the name because I really fell in love with it.
Yeah.
I do my best. I don't know what to do this, but I do my best thinking right in the morning, right around like 5 a.m. It's quiet. It's very quiet. Everyone's asleep still.
Yeah.
But your brain's racing. Like, if you ever woken up early and then fallen asleep quickly and you have like crazy dreams, like your brain, something about your brain at that specific point in time of the day, it just makes it go crazy. And that's where I came up. I just woke up one day and I was just dead silent. It was just Rolling Relief. And I was like, I keep a notebook next to my bed and everything too, because I write shit down. I won't remember it right away. So I just wake up, wrote it right down, and showed people. I didn't say it out loud for the longest time. I just showed people because I didn't want people to steal my idea. I was like, look at this. Look at Rolling Relief.
Look at this. Shut the notebook.
We didn't, eventually, when we first started out, we didn't actually have plans of being all delivery. We wanted to be what's called a micro business. So Rolling Relief, it's tight with delivery, but it's also quadruple entendre. It could just mean Rolling Relief, like you're rolling it up, and you can roll in relief with the tie is. Rolling Relief, we're going to make it a lifestyle. It's not just restricted to cannabis delivery. Yes. It's not just restricted to the cannabis industry. Like, there's going to come a time in the near future where we have a Rolling Relief skateboarding team. We have we sponsor skaters, send them to competitions.
Yeah.
And, Rolling Relief Records will come a couple years down the line, and we're going to have all my friends who rap, So really, we're trying to really make it a lifestyle, make the brand recognizable. Once I start seeing people getting it tattooed on them, that's when I know it's getting out of control. And that's really like a goal. The first person that gets Rolling Leaf tattooed on them will be forever in my debt.
Are you going to give them a prize or something?
I'll give them
because I might hop in on this. I don't know.
No,
JQ, you want to go in with me?
You'll be taken care of.
Get a little RR.
Yeah, exactly. RR, this. We got a new logo. With I don't even have it on me right now. It's an R with some skates on it.
That's dope.
In the wind.
Yeah, you have some merch right now. Actually, for anyone watching the video, I got some Rolling Relief papers.
Yeah.
It says ready for relief. I love that. Ready for relief.
Ready for relief, born to roll. Those are the hashtags we're running with.
I got a high idea.
Exactly. That's the new one. It was just a high idea, and I just woke up. So yeah, originally we were going to do what's called a micro business. And so a micro business is an umbrella term for 2 licenses. And so it's a cultivation and a product manufacturing license. And so it's the only license type that requires Massachusetts residency. So you have to be a Massachusetts resident for 1 whole year before you can apply for this license. They want to set aside for locals. And so
that's very exclusive.
So the micro aspect of it, the cultivation side, when it comes to cultivation in Mass, they measure it by tiers. There's tier 1 through 11, and they measure them by square feet of canopy. So a tier 1 license is up to 5,000 square feet of canopy. And so when you have a micro, you can cultivate up to 5,000 square feet. You can also do product manufacturing, which would entail like a lab to make concentrates and a kitchen to make edibles and topicals, things like that. But
can this be out of house? Does it have to be It
has to be at a certain facility.
Okay.
And then you have to get a host community agreement and go through the community outreach meetings and do all this stuff. That's why you don't see too many micro businesses in operation because it's sad to say because you get restricted by that license type. So Mass has caps on their licenses, unlike other states, so to prevent the monopoly on the market. So if you want a dispensary, you can only get 3 dispensaries. If you want a cultivation facility, you can only get 3 cultivation facilities.
Stop it.
If you want to do product manufacturing, you only get 3 of them. But if you want to do a micro business, that's it. You only get that one. You get nothing else. You can't increase the size.
Can't make multiple micro businesses?
You can't increase the size of your canopy for cultivation. So like you can't increase it from like 5,000 to 10,000.
Right.
And when it comes to wholesaling,
so you're like stuck kind of.
Oh, in a certain way.
Yeah.
And when it comes to wholesaling, you can only get in up to like 2,500 pounds a year. You can't wholesale more than 2,500 pounds from like cultivators to like make edibles and stuff like that. And so what's crazy is if you're a social equity certified micro business, you can apply for what's called a delivery endorsement, where you deliver only everything that you produce yourself. So there's multiple delivery licenses.
Wow. So you can literally have like rolling relief, like edibles and joints. And
there's only one social equity certified micro business in the state right now. And they're the only ones with that delivery endorsement. They're called Freshly Baked down in Taunton, Mass. Big shout out to them.
Shout out Freshly Baked.
Our future wholesalers. They got the edible gummy game on lock right now. Their co-founder, Philip Smith, was one of my classmates in the social equity program.
Wow.
I have a really great relationship with them. He was a real inspiration to me, and he instilled a lot of confidence in me when I was taking the classes. And he's just been a great friend and, somewhat of a mentor, you know, so big shout out to him. And it's crazy because if you're just a regular micro business, there's people like Gibby's Gardens down in Uxbridge and then River Run Gardens up in Newburyport. They're not social equity certified, so they can't run delivery because delivery is set aside for equity applicants. So they have to wait until the exclusivity window is done, and then they can apply for a delivery endorsement.
What?
Yeah, it's so crazy. And
That's crazy.
The only reason I know this is because I just eat, breathe, and sleep it. Yeah, I just read the regulations so many times.
You're speaking like a different language. Like,
it is. It's a lot.
But I enjoy it. Like I'm like trying to take it all in.
Somebody all in once is so much. If any like community colleges want to hire me as a professor, I'm open to that. You understand? I
feel like there should be cannabis community classes. You feel me? Like that's the next step out here.
And I think that would really drive up, attendance at a lot of colleges because more people would have interest in that instead of studying classical music or philosophy.
Yeah. And it's like when I was going to college, like I said, I started smoking young. I've always been into cannabis for medical reasons, for personal reasons, whatever. I never knew it was an option. I never knew education on cannabis was an option. I never knew it even for years when I was smoking. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I did not understand how deep it ran. And at points, I felt like guilty for enjoying cannabis, guilty for liking the community and feeling a part of the community and feeling like an advocate, and then feeling like, okay, but I also have to work a regular job and I also have to pretend like I don't want to burn right when I get out of work. Like, I don't know. It's like this weird double side to it. And it just feels so great getting older and seeing the community around me change and the legalization and the rules and just the way people talk about it, being able to sit down and have like an intellectual conversation with you right now about cannabis. Like, you don't get that every day.
No.
Not everyone can even talk like this.
Yeah,
like, you're educating me. You're educating everyone listening in.
I could do it for hours. I just love discussing anything cannabis. If it has anything to do with it, I'm going to throw interest in it. So take example, like cannabis accounting, regular accounting, but cannabis related. All right, I gotta learn this now because it's gonna be beneficial to me. It has something to do with cannabis. Talking about cannabis, even though there's not plant touching, it still has to do with the industry and still because cannabis is still federally legal, right? Mm-hmm. So there's a tax section code called 280E, right? So back in the 80s, when Ronald Reagan was the president, there was a cocaine trafficker down in the South, and he tried to write off his drug dealings as business expenses. And so Ronald Reagan was like, no, just say no. So he enacted what is called Tax Section Code 280E, which states if you're Schedule 1 narcotic, you cannot write off any sales or regular business expenses. at that point in time, there was no cannabis dispensaries in existence in the country, but these laws are still in place. Cannabis is still a Schedule I narcotic. Yeah. So cannabis businesses can't do normal tax write-offs that normal businesses can do, like payroll, business trips,
because of that
things
cocaine
like that. Because
situation?
of that tax section. So that's why you see a lot of people say, I don't want cannabis federally legalized, but I would really like it to be scheduled. So once they move it down from Schedule I, it's going to open up, it's going to be way more profitable for cannabis businesses because that 280Es crushes a lot of people,
Wow. And so that's everywhere? Like, is that like a federal?
That's federal. Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, I've never heard about that. I never knew about that.
The country.
And so there's no point in time where it's like, oh, we're going to go back and do a provision and relook at that situation.
That's what people are pushing for,
That makes absolutely no sense.
That's what people ran on.
When did you say Ronald Reagan, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, how many presidents have we had?
The drug era. So that's why a lot of people were running on the cannabis platform to give people false hope. And then once they get into office, there's other bigger issues at hand right now that I have to think about. And then before you know it, their term's over.
Right. So it's like, oh, well, in the past now. Now for the next, on to the next.
Yeah. And then the next person is like, I'll do it. He didn't do it, but I got you. And then it's just a vicious cycle.
Right.
But eventually the cycle has to end. Nothing goes on forever.
Yeah.
Look at us now. We can walk into a store and buy weed. Right. So it's only a matter of time.
100%.
And also, you can't get traditional bank loans because it's federally illegal as well. So I can't get a small business loan. And so a lot of small-time entrepreneurs that don't have these access to capital and the small net worth, and they see them getting taken advantage of by predatory investors. They say in Boston, the average net worth of the African-American family is $8.
What?
Yeah. That's a very common statistic that I've heard so many times.
That is so fucked.
So one of the first rounds of fundraising is they call it the friends and family round. You go to your friends and family to hopefully get up some cash. If you're all craps in the same bucket and your net worth is $8 and your friends or family's net worth not that much, that's where you have to go to the sharks, the Shark Tank people that will take advantage of you, chew you up and spit you out. So there's a lot you have to think about and a lot of precautions you have to take if you really want to keep control of your business and have a say in how it's ran.
Right. 100%. And that almost brings back to like the extortion of like, if you want to open a dispensary in a city and they're going to be like, yeah, but if you give us all this under the table, like, you got to watch your back. You got to be careful. You got to know your shit, be educated, because it's like, imagine if someone comes and tries to bullshit you. Well, you actually know what you're talking about. So you could like put up your defense. But if you don't know what you're talking about, you could easily get just fucked over.
There's a lot of people out there, and it just happens across the country, not just a Massachusetts thing. You see it in all new states. Everyone is trying to learn. Yeah. Anybody that calls himself a cannabis expert is bullshitting you because it's still a lot to learn about this plant and a lot to happen in this industry.
Still changing.
There's nobody that's a master grower out there. If anybody calls himself a master grower, they're also bullshitting you. Yeah. So
you're just a Padawan.
Exactly.
Okay? Relax.
There's people who have skin in the game, but there's still everyone. Education is going to be ongoing for a while.
100%. Yeah. And I actually had seen you put up a post about this, and I kind of wanted to bring it up on the show and kind of have you talk about how this even happened. I don't know if you know what I'm going to ask, but your little like brand endorsement or deal, whatever it is with Paul Pierce, question mark.
Oh yes, my man Paul.
Oh yes,
I forgot about that. It's actually his birthday today. Happy birthday to my man Paul Pierce. The Truth 34. That's my guy. Happy birthday to you, bro.
Shout out Paul Pierce, yo. I'm gonna tag you on this. Hope you watch it.
Yeah. So obviously there's a story to everything, know. So there's a company based in Fitchburg that's called the Hubcraft Company. And so the Hubcraft Company does retail, product manufacturing, and cultivation. So they have a dispensary, they grow weed, they make edibles. Okay. And so the COO, Chief Operating Officer of the Hubcraft, her name is Noni Goldman. And Noni just so happened to be, this is just new, she wasn't always in this role. But, it happened within the last 1 or 2 years, I'm pretty sure. But it did not happen when I was taking the social equity program. So Noni was one of the original instructors for the social equity program. Her company called I don't even remember what it's called. Four Trees Holyoke. Four Trees Holyoke merged with the Hubcraft company now. Now they're just one Hubcraft. But, she was just Four Trees Holyoke when she was teaching equity program. And I was one of her students. And even prior to that, we spoke on an educational panel together. And so we had some history. And so she reached out to me, I'd say this is back in July. She hit me up on Facebook. She was like, "Hey, Dev, I hope you've been well. I've seen everything you've been doing. I just wanted to catch up if you have some time." I'm like, "Yeah, of course." So we had a virtual meeting, and she told me her role with the Hubcraft company. And she told me that they have a bunch of license agreements with celebrities, and Paul Pierce is one of them. And so I'm a diehard Celtics fan. I bleed green. I was born in 93. Paul Pierce was drafted in 98. So I literally grew up watching Paul Pierce play for the Celtics. That's really all I knew. That was my version of Larry Bird. I used to, when I played basketball, I used to pretend I was Paul Pierce. And Paul Pierce stuck around with the Celtics through the good times and the bad times, because the year before we won the championship, we were the worst team in the league, and he still stayed around. And he's OG. He's from Oakland. He grew up a Lakers fan. He plays for the Celtics, so it's pretty crazy, I think. And so they were like, "Yeah, we have a license agreement with Paul Pierce. His product's called the Truth 34. Do you want to sign an LOI to take on his product and carry it in addition to the other celebrities?" I had to play it cool. I was like, "Yeah, maybe, yeah, nah." But then I was like, "Yes, 100% yes." Like that's like as a childhood idol. Before David Ortiz, before Tom Brady, there was Paul Pierce. Paul Pierce was the original. And so Paul Pierce is just one of them. He was the one that I cared the most about. In addition to Paul Pierce, not too many people know this, we're also going to be carrying Whoopi Goldberg's products, Gary Payton, Seattle Supersonics legend, and the original Rick Ross, Freeway Ricky Ross. We're going to be having all of their products on our menu once we become operational. Paul Pierce is the only one I met so far. They had a VIP party.
I'm sorry, you heard it here first, also Young World.
I met Paul Pierce at a VIP party end of August at Yvonne's in downtown Boston.
Okay.
And it was cool because it was like a speakeasy type of setting.
That's
like
dope.
We walked in the restaurant. This woman walked to the back, went to a bookcase, pulled the book out, and she started sliding.
Stop
and
it.
they're like, "Right this way, sir." I was like, "Yeah, what's about to happen right now?"
It's going down tonight.
Yeah, no, it was an open bar, a lot of food around. And Paul walked down by himself. I just walked up to him. I actually met him twice before at like autograph signings, but this is like the first time I can like talk to him and have him remember who I am.
Facts.
And I'm like, "Yeah, man," I tried to play cool, and I was like, "Yeah, bro, you're like my childhood idol." But he's a wicked show guy.
Yeah.
He's down to earth. I've met celebrities before that are kind of douchebags, but Paul is really chill.
Yeah.
Really, like, we chopped it up for like 45 minutes.
Wow.
And he took my car.
Humble.
Oh my God, yeah. Talked about sports, talked about weed.
Yeah.
So like,
I don't even know what to say. I feel like you like somehow manifested that.
No,
I don't know.
I did. No,
from your love of the Celtics to the love of weed in the combination.
Before they approached me with the offer, I literally saw that they were going to partner with them, and I posted on Facebook. I was like, I'm gonna carry Paul Pierce's brand one day.
Put it out to the universe.
Yeah, and then she hit me up a couple months later.
Too big,
and I was like, damn.
Yes.
Like, all my friends hit me up because they're all super diehard like me. They all love Paul Pierce.
Right.
What?
Yo, I double took when I seen your picture on Instagram. I was like, is that Dev? Is that Dev? Oh shit, that's Dev. Which is just fire on top of everything else you're doing, all the amazing moves you're making. It was kind of just like a cherry on top of the Cannabis Sunday.
Oh my gosh. It was dope because even earlier that day, we were out in Worcester visiting the first cookie store on the East Coast that's actually owned by my man Ross Bradshaw.
Hey.
Ross, Worcester native, economic empowerment applicant.
Dope.
First on the whole East Coast. We were sitting there waiting in the huge line, and then Ross came out, saw us in line, and said, what are you doing out here, man? Brought us to the front.
Come on, yo.
I was like, excuse me. So that whole day, that whole day, I was a little gassed off, and I was like, yeah, no, you don't have to. So I'm going to meet Paul Pierce. Nothing too crazy.
Right. Don't mind me, Dev Alexander over here.
But it just shows like all the work that I've put in, and just being true to myself, being a good community member. Not bashing anybody, not trying to throw dirt on anybody else's name, just keeping tunnel vision and just staying to what I believe in. starting to pay off, just by now. And God only knows what will happen and where we are a year from now. So I just really just got to remember what got me here and stay true to myself.
Exactly. Stay humble, grow. And I think, you just ended on a perfect note for everyone listening in. It's all about just being consistent. When the ups and downs come, flowing with them, going forward, moving forward, continuing, guys. No matter what anybody says about your dreams, your hopes, your goals, whether it's a cannabis industry, whether it's a podcast, whether you're writing a book, whether you're a musician, artist, whatever it is you're doing, starting a small business, just take the steps, get educated, do what you have to do, put the time in, and manifest it, put it into the universe, as Dev said.
Yeah, he's got to go after it.
Yeah.
I think what really keeps me going is if I stop now, I'll always be left wondering what if, and that will literally eat me up inside until the day I'm no longer existing on this world. So I've come too far to throw in the towel, and if it doesn't happen next year, the year after, I'm not going to stop until it does.
Yo, you guys, did you hear that motivation? Like, I can't even right now. Like, I'm so amped. I'm so happy for you. So pumped to even be in this, realm of your space, of what you're doing moving forward. Like, it's a blessing to have you on the show. So in 5 years from now, when you're blowing up, I'm like, yo, you seen that 5 years ago? I had him on my podcast. And I just want to, again, thank you for doing so much for, the cannabis community, the Black community, just putting yourself out there and making changes and giving back and growing something great around this area. So again, thank you. Cheers to you for coming on.
Cheers. Thank you for having me. Thank you very much.
Everybody, we're going to be having some amazing guests coming up this next month and into November. So stay tuned. You're going to see everything dropping, more cannabis advocates, and a lot more. So just stay tuned with me, your host, Jesse Ellie, on Old Soul in a Young World.
Pisser hit you like an accident, and if I'm in your town, you might beat me at the Radisson or splattering, battering crews for lip chattering. It ain't nothing.